Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Bruce Frisco. It is Thursday, the 18th of December. This is CTV News. Tonight, a spending situation. Nova Scotia's deficit balloons by tens of millions of dollars. A dairy dilemma. The U.S. targets Canadian farms in the hunt for a trade deal. And a holiday house. You don't have to go to the North Pole to visit this winter wonderland.
Live from our Maritime's News Center, this is CTV News. Here is Bruce Frisco.
Good evening. We begin with breaking news tonight. Another major lobster facility in our region has been destroyed by fire. The live lobster storage facility in Stonehaven, New Brunswick, largely leveled by the blaze, which reportedly broke out sometime around 3:30 p.m. Fortunately, there was no one in the building at the time. The chief of the new Brandon Salmon Beach Fire Department telling CTV News the building was a complete loss, adding this is a big blow to the community, which is about 20 minutes from Bathurst on Highway 11. There's no word on a potential cause, but RCMP say the fire marshal will be back on the scene tomorrow morning. The website for the Stonehaven Lobster Company notes the family-run business has been operating for 4 generations with buyers in Europe, Asia, and all over North America. And these are proving to be difficult times for the industry for other reasons. Food prices continue to climb into uncharted territory, but lobster is suddenly a good deal for consumers. CTV's Jonathan McInnes has more.
Still nice and hard.
Pat DeWolf is refilling the tanks at the Lobster Dive in Eastern Passage.
I honestly have never seen it this low.
With a shore price sitting around $8.50 a pound, resale here hovers around $11, more than acceptable for these customers.
It is pretty good today. I can't argue with that.
It's awesome right now, but I can remember back when they were only $1 a pound, so that was a long time ago.
The landing price of lobster is based on the market. Competition in 2 areas is what controls how much buyers will pay for the catch. Last season, fishermen were getting around $11.50 a pound early in the season.
It's competition on the wharf. Dealers and buyers need harvesters, so they compete to buy lobster from harvesters. So there's competition at the wharf, and there's competition in the protein market.
Back at the wharf, DeWolf is also cooking lobsters to fill a customer's order. At the current price, he says they've been busy selling both live and cooked lobsters.
We're running out quick, you know, certain sizes like 2 pound plus, we're running out quick. People like that, that's a common lobster, 2.5.
So far, the weather has been pretty good for fishing. A couple days have been missed here and there. With high winds in the forecast for the next couple days, it's expected the boats here will remain tied up, and that could affect the supply of lobster as we get closer to Christmas and what is traditionally a busy time for buying and selling lobster. Jonathan McInnes, CTV News, Eastern Passage, Nova Scotia.
RCMP investigating reports of shots fired in East Preston. Incident took place this morning near the 1600 block of Highway 7. A portion of the road was closed for a time, but later reopened. No reports of any injuries, but one person was taken into custody. Province of New Brunswick has released a plan to cut homelessness by about 40% in the next few years. The key component is bringing together a number of departments, including social development, health, justice, and public safety, as well as the Housing Corporation and local governments as well.
It's a complex conversation, and it couldn't just be held in one department. Bringing all those folks to one table really expedites decision-making. So this is historic in that we're bringing those conversations to one space for decision-making.
What that says to me is that the province recognizes this is a complex problem, and it's not one thing, like Minister Miles said. It's not just one lane. It's all of these lanes that are impacted, and all of these lanes need to help.
Notably, there is no new money attached to the plan. Several frontline services we asked today said they're still going through some of the details.
Get the Maritime's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
It is not particularly festive, but just in time for Christmas, there's plenty of red ink on Nova Scotia's balance sheet. The final fiscal update of the year predicts a deficit of $1.3 billion. And the minister says cuts are coming. CTV's Jesse Thomas has more.
Given the deficit and looking ahead to 2026, a fiscal pullback is likely on the horizon.
We have to let the growth in revenue and the growth in spending kind of match, so we need to slow down the growth in spending.
While revenue growth remains modest, up just 0.9%, spending is accelerating. Expenses were up 4.4%, or $719 million more than was budgeted for. Biggest cost drivers remained healthcare, $416 million, while government restructuring and shifting priorities cost taxpayers an additional $172 million. But Laura wouldn't elaborate on where that spending went. And the summer wildfires, those costs soared, totaling $33 million. And natural disasters like the drought cost the agricultural department an extra $3 million. These pressures are fueling talks of cuts, although Laura wouldn't say how deep, except that more details would come in the 2026-27 budget slated for release early next year.
So we have put a hiring directive in place for civil service to make sure that when we fill positions, we are strategic about it. That will result in savings over time. And we can do this without impacting frontline workers. We're also looking at reducing grants and programs across government by 10%.
Asked if government has a spending problem, Laura didn't deny things are costing more, but got political, framing the spending as a catch-up after years of underfunding.
We had 8 years of very little investment in many of these issues. We felt the need, I know I felt that in my 8 years in opposition, let's get things done.
Opposition critics argue while spending has put the province in a record deficit, it's done little to help Nova Scotians trying to make ends meet.
That we're on is not sustainable. We see GDP growth slowing down, and they're ignoring that and spending more. What we need is an economy that matches government, and we continue to increase the size of government while our economy suffers.
While there were no concrete answers on how the government plans to cut the deficit, Minister Laura confirmed no tax hikes are planned. Jesse Thomas, CTV News, Halifax.
A man is in custody after a bizarre incident at the Moncton Airport this afternoon. Kodiak RCMP called after a man was seen walking on a runway in a restricted area. 27-year-old from Moncton was arrested without incident. Police say there was no threat to the public and no flights were impacted. The investigation said to be ongoing. A technical glitch is being blamed for a service interruption at Halifax Transit yesterday. The incident shut down communication between the control center and the buses and ferries for 6 or 7 hours before it was resolved. Some say this is a good example of a larger problem, and users have conflicting opinions on the transit service.
I've recently sold my car, so I have to use the bus at least like 3 times a week. And I've never had any problems.
Buses can be full, or they're often very delayed, and there's changes in routes a lot of the time, and you just generally can't rely on it.
The city declined to say what the technical issue was yesterday, but insists it was not a cyber attack. You could call this the latest chapter in the never-ending story of a new library in Sydney. After years of debate, a decision has been made for the replacement of the 60-year-old McConnell Library. At a special council meeting, council voted for a new waterfront facility in the former grounds of the Royal Cape Breton Yacht Club. The library will be on the ground floor with 138 apartments sitting above it.
The taxes generated from the residential portion of the building will fund the long-term lease into the future for the library space.
Officials say the deal would see the developer cover the construction costs up front with a plan to recoup the money over the next 20 years or so. Work is expected to begin in the spring. A prominent former Nova Scotia judge has died. The Nova Scotia judiciary says the former Supreme Court Justice Peter Richard passed away on Sunday. A business owner in the 1950s, he served a term on Halifax Council before heading to law school. He focused on hospital law for the first part of his career before being appointed to the bench in 1978. He served almost 30 years, but his obituary notes the probable highlight was his work as the sole commissioner on the Westray inquiry, starting in 1992. His final report generated many changes to work safety laws that are still in effect today. Pete Richard was 93. Still to come tonight, Kaylin's full forecast, and we'll take a look at this year's cold and flu season, which is early and, you're right, pretty brutal. Coming up next, though, a dairy dilemma.
The United States has been asking for a number of things from Canada's dairy industry for a long time.
American negotiators have now put out a preliminary list of demands for renewing the North American trade deal. Canadian dairy farmers not very happy. Details are next. So we learned yesterday the United States has now put conditions on the table for the renewal of a trade deal between our countries. Not surprising, really. They say they want more American products in our dairy aisle, something that could threaten the supply management system that protects farmers on our side of the border. CTV's Avery McCrae has details and reaction tonight.
To ensure long-term certainty of the Canada-U.S.-Mexico trade agreement, the United States is calling for sweeping changes within the dairy market.
The United States has been asking for a number of things from Canada's dairy industry for a long time.
Among the requests from U.S. trade officials is expanding access into the Canadian dairy market. Under the CUSMA agreement, Canada has conceded nearly 4% of the market access. According to industry, that results in over $140 million in losses annually for Canadian producers.
They also want to limit our ability to export some dairy products, not just to the United States, but actually to global markets around the world. Each of those changes would have a direct impact on producers and processors in Atlantic Canada.
Prime Minister Mark Carney said it is unlikely to see deals for sectors like dairy to be negotiated separately outside of CUSMA talks, but says he will work closely with farmers on ensuring the right deal is made.
We will always pursue an agreement that is in the interest of Canadian workers, Canadian families.
The Canadian dairy industry operates under a supply management system which helps regulate the market from both a production and cost standpoint for farmers. U.S. officials argue that this unfairly restricts market access for American products. While dairy producers argue they would lose money under the U.S. demands, Sylvain Charlebois questions why Ottawa should further compensate a sector that has increased production in the last 5 years.
The reality is that trade deals don't necessarily impact supply management and the quota system because they recalibrate quotas. Many farmers have become richer than when the first trade deal with the U.S. was ratified under Trump.
The dairy farmers of New Brunswick declined an interview on the topic, while the Nova Scotia and Prince Edward Island dairy farming boards did not respond to CTV by airtime. Avery McCrae, CTV News, St. John.
Thank you, Avery. Time for a quick little break, but when we return, your complete maritime weather forecast. It was pretty gorgeous around here today, but tomorrow, well, be a little bit of a different story. Kaylin Mitchell has all the details when CTV News continues. It is the 18th day of December. It felt like Friday all day, didn't it?
Did for me, that's for sure, but I still have Christmas shopping to do, so I'm really looking to the weekend.
Yes, that's right.
Got to get out there and get that done.
Get to the mall, man.
Speaking of getting things done, we got to talk more about the storm system that's been making its way across the country. Me and Bruce were talking about this over the last couple of days. Brought in some blizzard conditions to parts of the prairies, heavy snow, northern Ontario, northern Quebec. For us here in the Maritimes, we're still going to be on the rainy and windy side of it. No issues as far as the weather goes for the rest of today or for the start of the day for tomorrow. It'll just be increasing cloudiness. Now, by the time we get to Friday afternoon, the first of the rain begins to show up in areas of New Brunswick and the southwest and Nova Scotia. And as the rain moves in, the southerly winds start to increase in strength as well. And they really look like they're going to be peaking for much of the Maritimes Friday evening and Friday night. We'll talk about the wind strength in a moment, but there you can see the rain moving in at that time as well. And as we head through Friday night into the early morning hours of Saturday, that rain crosses the Maritimes from the west towards the east. Some scattered showers and flurries in behind it. Now, rainfall totals with this weather system, general 10 to 30 millimeters, some local amounts of between 25 and 40. And we do have some rainfall warnings out down around the Bay of Fundy coastline in New Brunswick, in around the Minas Basin of Nova Scotia, central and eastern parts of the mainland, as well as Victoria County in Cape Breton. Here's a look at some potential rainfall amounts. You can see much of the region, 10 to 30 millimeters, except those brighter colors indicating the potential for those higher amounts. Now, winds with this weather system really increase as we move through Friday afternoon and into Friday evening. And we're expecting some peak wind gusts of between around 80 and 110 kilometers per hour for parts of the region. And that would be southern areas of New Brunswick, Prince Edward Island, and mainland Nova Scotia, where those wind warnings are in effect. Now, the 110, that's mostly going to be on exposed areas of the coastline, both the Bay of Fundy coastline in New Brunswick and the Atlantic coastline of Nova Scotia. One other area, though, that will get into stronger winds Friday night will be northern Inverness County in Cape Breton. There, because of the topography of the highlands, some of the peak wind gusts will be in excess of 120 kilometers per hour. Think about your holiday decorations. If you have anything out that you don't want wind blown or wind damaged, you probably want to secure it. Taking a look at lows in the forecast for tonight, they mostly occurred this evening. A few degrees below to a few degrees above the freezing mark. Temperatures rising for the rest of the night. And that strong southerly wind is going to push high temperatures tomorrow in the Maritimes up to around the low to mid-teens. Taking a look at our 7-day outlook for New Brunswick, coming up in behind that weather system for Saturday, it's flurries and it's a gusty west wind. Some gusts between 40 and 60 kilometers per hour. That'll be bringing in some chillier air off the continent. Flurries in the forecast for Sunday. Monday, a mix of sun and cloud. And then some flurries expected on Tuesday of next week, followed by cloudy periods for Christmas Eve and a mix of sun and cloud for Christmas Day. For Nova Scotia and the outlook coming up on the weekend, it is going to be flurries and gusty winds on Saturday, a mixture of flurries and showers on Sunday, and then temperatures get a little bit chillier for the start of next week. So flurries in the forecast for Monday. It may be flurries or some snow Tuesday night into Wednesday, which of course is Christmas Eve. That would be nice to see because maybe we'd get a shot at having a white Christmas. Right now, Christmas Day itself, a mix of sun and cloud and a high of around -4. For Prince Edward Island in the forecast, flurries and windy conditions on Saturday. Some further flurries in the forecast both Sunday and Monday of next week. And then watching for some snow or flurries Tuesday night into Wednesday, followed by a mix of sun and cloud for Christmas Day. Bruce.
All right, thank you, my friend. We'll step aside for just a couple of minutes, but stay with us. We'll be right back and hope you are too. Chances are you or somebody you know is coping with seasonal illness right about now. In fact, an already overwhelmed healthcare system is trying to keep up with a big surge in flu and respiratory illnesses. As CTV's Laura Brown shows us tonight, there's been an early uptick in cases compared to previous years, and healthcare providers are urging caution right now.
All 3 maritime provinces are reporting the same thing. Influenza cases are rapidly rising earlier than in past years.
We are seeing high levels of flu activity across all of our emergency departments. And so we've certainly activated our plans.
As of today, everyone attending a Nova Scotia health facility is required to wear a mask to try and stop the spread of these respiratory illnesses.
Flu always moves from west to east, and so we're a little bit behind. But we are starting to see in the last couple of weeks a significant increase on influenza activity, which is 2 to 3 weeks earlier than we normally see.
Ottawa Public Health announced Monday that 3 children have died from influenza-related complications. They were between the ages of 5 and 9. The Maritimes are also seeing an increase in infections among children. PEI is reporting its rates are highest among those 5 to 19, followed by those 0 to 4 years old. Experts say it's not too late to get the vaccine, even if it's not a perfect match.
Despite what they hear with regards to mismatch
and that type of thing that's being reported, they have to realize that there is cross protection still within the vaccine. So it's, it is very, very important that they don't dismiss it.
Picone says last year saw an extremely low uptake in the flu vaccine. So this year, New Brunswick pharmacists are seeing a 10 to 15% increase compared to last. That tracks with what Nova Scotia is experiencing, says Dr. Robert Strang.
I think there has been slipping back. People think, oh, we're done with the pandemic, so kind of back to normal. But my hope is that we learned some things from the pandemic and that we tend to be too complacent about respiratory viruses. So it's really important that people understand that getting vaccinated against these viruses, it protects them, but it's also very important for protecting others around them.
Dr. Strang says the H3 strain that we're seeing usually affects children and seniors most, and it has proven to be more infectious and in some cases severe. Laura Brown, CTV News, Fredericton.
Thank you, Laura. Time for one final break. Coming up, a Maritime man determined to make you smile with his holiday display. First, though, it's your wake-up weather. Here's a look at the Armdale Roundabout. Kaylin Mitchell with everything you need to know for Friday morning. Yes, Friday morning. We come back. See, now it's decidedly Friday morning.
That's right, exactly. And for the start of the day for tomorrow, we've got cloud cover that's going to continue to roll into the Maritimes. And then in the afternoon, that's when the rain begins to show up. First, New Brunswick and western areas of Nova Scotia. More rain follows for Friday evening and Friday night. And that's when those southerly winds really ramp up as well, though they will be pushing the high temperatures tomorrow up into the low teens. Bruce.
Quite a spectacle for December. Thank you, Kaylin. Nova Scotia man you're about to meet goes above and beyond every Christmas to deck the halls. As CTV's Vanessa Wright shows us tonight, his decorative display has just one goal, and that's to put a big smile on the face of anybody who sees it.
Cavalier Drive in Lower Sackville, Nova Scotia is normally quiet. But that's until around November when this house on the corner gets ready for Christmas.
Half of the things you see over here now are really not even half the things I got because I don't have enough room for all the things I got.
It's a tradition owner Paul Bowden says came alive 27 years ago when he was visiting his in-laws who had their home decked out. He came back and decided to do the same.
From that day on, I just continued to put up lights in the house, buy lights, buy ornaments, and hopefully it brings a smile to the community and a smile to people's faces.
And whether big or small, he has it all.
I like to try to buy something that no one has. And what I do is I just go by and I think it's going to fit in the spot, and then I just put it in the spot.
And at nighttime, the display is even more electrifying with thousands of lights. It's a passion close to his heart that has braved many storms.
14 years ago, we had some kids ransack some of the ornaments I had here, and the community rallied around me. And they bought me items. They went to Canadian Tire and bought me lights. And one of the messages that they sent me was, please don't stop doing what you're doing. And then I vowed just to make it bigger and bigger and better.
Vanessa Wright, CTV News, Lower Sackville, Nova Scotia.
And that is a Christmas tradition. Okay, that is also your late news tonight. If you joined us late, ctvnewsatlantic.ca, always your home for news. I'm Bruce Frisco. Thank you for staying up late with us tonight. Have a good evening. I hope to see you again tomorrow for Friday.